sick, but I think I can start. We're grooving ourselves in. You can feel that, right? So it's the first day. Bear with us. But as I said, I'm amazed having a full room all the time. Thank you so much for choosing us. As I know, there's so much choice at ITB Berlin Convention. Make sure to also share on social media. Hashtag ITB Berlin Convention, obviously. We love that, seeing that later on, where you've been, what you visited, what you learned. Yes, and without any further ado, because time is valuable, especially here at ITB, we know how much it costs a square meter here, so we want to make use of the time, and we want to learn a lot. As I said, this session is co-created with Global Travel Tech, a newly established association, so someone really to watch. They also have an official launch event here today, so many things happening there. Check them out online, follow them on LinkedIn. They have a LinkedIn company page you can follow where you can get new updates. It's very insightful. Unlocking sustainability with travel technology. Let's see what we can do within the travel tech space in terms of sustainability, a topic top of mind, I'd say, for hopefully all of us. It should be at least. And for the next 25 minutes, I can share this stage with wonderful people. I'm absolutely excited about that. Please welcome on stage Emmanuel Monnier from Global Travel Tech. Please just come up, and we have Kirsty Webster from Skyscanner. We have Lucas Borbs from Amadeus. And we have Aditi Mohapatra from Expedia Group and Danielle Da Silva from Booking.com. Please take a seat, feel like at home. That's your living room for the next 25 minutes. Thank you so much for joining. And as I just did with the earlier session, I just want to do the proper introduction so you really know who's here on stage, who's coming to share their insights. So Danielle Da Silva, you are head of sustainability at Booking.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, coming all the way from Amsterdam, right? Did you come today?
All the way, yes.
All the way? Well, I mean, especially nowadays, if you look at the strikes and the news we see, I appreciate a lot that you came all the way here, right? Then we have Aditi Mohapatra from Expedia Group. You are VP Global Social Impact and Sustainability. Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And then we have Lucas Borbes. You've been in sustainability for so long at Amadeus Group. You are Group Environmental Officer. Thank you for joining, keeping up with the ladies there in this corner, so well positioned. And Kirsty Webster, thank you so much for joining, Industry and Partner Sustainability Lead at Skyscanner. So, Emmanuel, you are the Secretary General at Global Travel Tech, and you collected this fantastic group. Congratulations.
Yes.
And let's see what we discuss now. I think we start with some data, because as you see, we have the biggest player on stage from our industry. So as you can imagine, they sit on quite an amount of data. So Danielle and Aditi, I know both your companies do quite some research, right? I mean, you leverage what you have the insights, so why wouldn't you learn something from it? Maybe Danielle, can you share from the B2B perspective? You have so much data also on partners, how they behave, what they do. What's their take on sustainability? Where would you position their importance for that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to understanding the industry, we really have to understand what our partners for Booking.com, that's accommodations mainly, are saying about sustainability. And just like travelers, they want a more sustainable travel industry. They want to lean in, they want to be a part of it, but they're facing barriers to make more sustainable choices for their business. While they want to do it, there's not necessarily very clear ROI for them, so it's something that they're really trying to understand better. They're lacking maybe tools to help them in the process. It is not simple, it is not easy. We need to make it easier. Tech can play a role in that. And then they're also kind of telling us that they don't necessarily know if it's their responsibility. So there's a question of, is it the traveler? Is it the accommodation? Who should really be taking responsibility when it comes to sustainability? A small accommodation, what impact can I have? But I think that's something we see consistently across the industry that's made up of SMEs, that's made up of travelers. All of that is impact that builds. So we need to really get to a place where we can give everyone, accommodations, travelers, the confidence that they can make an impact, they can do it well, and that it will bring something back to them.
Okay, but it's good news, right? So they are all up for it. They're
Definitely.
ready to work on it. And Aditi, what could you share? I mean, there's so much data you have insights into in consumer behavior. What does research show there?
Yes, absolutely. So at Expedia Group, we've done research to really better understand how travelers are thinking about sustainability. And first of all, sustainability means a lot of things to travelers. It definitely means kind of the eco aspects that I think many of us associate with the word sustainability. It also means engaging with local businesses, cultural tourism, so it means a lot of different things to travelers. And in our research, we found that 90% of travelers are looking for sustainable options when they're searching for their next trip. 50% of them say that they're willing to spend more money on that, and I think we'll get into that in a little bit, but they are willing to pay more for it. That's what the survey or the research says. But what we found is that overwhelmingly, travelers are finding it difficult to navigate what those options look like. So they're overwhelmed by the information that's out there. It's not standardized. It's difficult to understand, and so therefore it's difficult to take action on. And so that's really the real challenge for us. We know that there's a lot of hunger, a lot of interest in the issues, but it's very difficult for travelers to be able to navigate.
Right, okay. Well, it's a good segue because you mentioned the challenge, right? So Kirsty, what would you say from your perspective as Skyscanner? What are the main challenges within the sustainability realm?
I think what Aditi said is right. There is a lot of willingness from travellers and partners to travel more sustainably. The challenge we have is how do we navigate that kind of gap, I would say, in what travellers are saying that they want to do and actually the action that they're taking in terms of their travel choices. And as a tech company, we've got that opportunity really to navigate that and provides transparent information, I would say, and unbiased information for the traveller, because we're that conduit between the traveller and the partner in that space. And it's how do we use our platform to be able to navigate those travellers to feel that they're informed and feel like they can make that decision in terms of sustainability. And I think that's where the challenge and opportunity really lies in that space.
Right, good. Okay, so it's information transparency. Lucas, what would you say from your perspective? What are the main challenges we're facing?
Yeah, well, I think that going a little bit more into detail about why this happens, this say-do gap that we have, I think we have to acknowledge that as opposed to other pieces of information that are used when making travel choices, like very simply the price of the ticket or the schedule of the flight, the information about sustainability is extremely complicated. Mm-hmm. Imagine I am booking my vacation now for going in September to Oman, for example. And then if I want to factor in sustainability into my choice, I'll have to look at a broad range of topics that are not easy to collect. That includes the aircraft efficiency, the fuel consumption, the emissions per passenger. When I look in the local impact, I will probably want to look at what is the impact on local communities of my stay, what is the water uses, what is the waste generation policies, what are the use of renewable energy, a lot of things that I need to take into consideration. And by the way, I'm making an estimation 6 months in advance of that impact.
Right.
So I think it's fundamental that we as an industry, especially travel technology companies, work together to analyze how we're going to compile all this information and how are we going to assess it in a common way so that the information that we pass to customers, to travelers, is simple, is transparent, it's clear, so that they can make the choices they want.
Oh, right. So we're talking about the need for collaboration as well here, right? So there's a heightened need to work together. From your perspective, Emmanuel, you unite all of them now in an association. Would you add anything to this list of challenges, or what's your take on this specific aspect?
I would echo what Lucas just said. We, as intermediaries, we are sitting between the travelers and the travel service suppliers. And we see that from the travelers, you have this strong green demand, and it's about matching this green demand with a green offer. And what the travelers need to go towards the right green offer is transparent, understandable, simple, and reliable information. So our challenge as an industry, as a travel tech industry, is to find ways to convey this information in the transparent manner, to find standardized methodologies, to have comparable information from every supplier. That's absolutely critical. One of our main assets as intermediaries is the trust we get from our customers. This is why they go on Booking rather than going on another platform, maybe direct distribution channel. Because there they know they'll get good information, they know they'll be accompanied throughout their journey, their booking journey, and that's very important. And so it's crucial for the companies of Global Travel Tech, members of Global Travel Tech, to secure this trust when it comes to sustainability, so to have the right information to convey. So for that, you need standardization, meaning that you need to have standardized methodology in how you assess the environmental footprints of offers, but you also need to have, as much as possible, harmonization, meaning not a standard available to all, but a standard adopted by all. And then you need the information to be pushed from the suppliers to the customers passing through us, so to have the right data sharing pattern. this harmonization, it's a cooperation effort. It's a collaborative effort. We need to work together, and this is why you need an association like Global Travel Tech, so that we can speak with one voice to all the stakeholders in this industry, suppliers, international organizations, regulators, and we try to work together towards some harmonization in how you measure environmental performances.
Okay, so the need for standardization, harmonization. Aditi from Expedia Group is one of the brands people trust because it's a household brand, right? It's a huge company. From your perspective, what would you say? What's the role of a travel tech company with regards to this task, right? It's a massive task.
It absolutely is. And yeah, I mean, definitely echoing some of the points that we just heard. I mean, we do feel a responsibility when millions of travelers are coming to our sites every day to make booking decisions to better inform those decisions on their part. So we need to make sure we have trusted information that's understandable, again, to really minimize that confusion on the part of our travelers. What is an added element of kind of a challenge in the sustainability space in particular is many of the actions that companies are taking, hotels, airlines, others, are actually not visible to the traveler when they're actually undertaking that traveler experience, right? And so it's something where, you know, they need to be able to understand this very kind of complex topic, but in ways in which they may not engage with when they're actually there on, you know, at a hotel, or they are not necessarily paying attention to the kind of fuel that's powering their flight, for example, right? And so those are not experiences that they have as travelers themselves. So really creating a space that they can understand and define for them. It's really, the onus is on us to ultimately define what a sustainable option looks like for travelers, and also to inform our travel partners, our suppliers, in what we think is a sustainable, kind of how we want to characterize sustainability. So we also hear from our travel partners on the regular about, you know, we want to showcase and we want to compete on sustainability, and we want you to display and tell travelers all the great work that we're doing on sustainability. And that can also be challenging, because trying to convey, you know, every single supplier and what they're doing on sustainability in a way, again, that's consistent to travelers, that they can have decision useful information, can be a very kind of challenging space to navigate. So definitely echoing the need for collaboration, consistency, providing trusted information that travelers can really rely on in ways that are digestible and understandable for our travelers.
Okay, I see. And if you translate this then down, so given you work together, you exchange as industry players, being competitors as well, right? So we have to honor that too, that you work together on that, despite being in the same market, after the same fish, let's say. So Danielle, what can you give some concrete examples? What tools can I imagine is Booking.com working on to actually facilitate this and help the consumer? Because that's your homework then, right? After you've learned what to do in the industry, you go back, and Booking.com has their own solution for that.
Yeah, definitely. So a number of things. We do a lot to already start presenting this information to travelers, and we work together with everyone on stage here to do that. We're trying to do a few things as well, like I said earlier, to help the partners and help streamline this information across the industry, because what ultimately needs to happen is the traveler has clear information. But that's kind of the last step. What has to happen before that step to actually make that possible? So a few things could be, for instance, certification data. How do we make sure that every OTA or everyone on this stage has the same information about certifications? A few years ago, certifications were telling each of us independently. So you could go to one platform and see a property had a certification, go to another and it wouldn't have it. But now we've streamlined that together with the partner to make sure that we're all receiving the same information. It's a really great tech solution to a problem that we were facing from a data perspective. There's also collecting information from the travel provider partners. How can you actually get that information to travelers if you don't collect it in the first place? In the last couple of years, we've collected sustainability practices from 1.4 million properties, giving us a great wealth of information on what's actually happening in accommodations today, so that we can use that to help guide them on what sustainability means and what a more sustainable option is. You know, you're doing these 25 different actions, and these are wonderful, but you need to be doing these 10, 20, 30 other things to be considered a more sustainable option. That's another really important piece, is how do we actually gather that information easily? And then the last one is providing tools. So again, towards the travel provider partner, once we have this information, how do we actually get education or localized information out to the accommodation? So when we say this is a more sustainable option, we don't just leave them to sort of have that information, but we're actually providing a tool to either give them the step-by-step guide to put those practices in place, or to skill their staff in a particular way, or access funding that may or may not be available. So these are the types of things that we can do to make sure that at the end the traveler can actually make that choice. But if there is no more sustainable option available to them, then we're not going to be able to surface something on the front end. And that's really the thing we need to keep in mind.
Right, I see. And Lucas, Amadeus, right, is a big ecosystem, as we learned before. You're a B2B, B2C, B2B company. What would you add? What tools are being developed? Can you share some examples?
Well, to complement, and assuming these challenges have already been overcome, the way we see it is that I think we need to clearly segment between the different types of travelers, especially leisure versus business. And then we also have to take a look at what time during the travel process are we going to help travelers. So in that sense, for leisure travelers in particular, we believe the display of information at the time of booking is critical. So we need to convey a clear and summarized message about these different values in terms of sustainability of the different travel options, so that this information can be factored in to make a travel choice. We have some solutions already in that respect with regards to carbon calculation of flights. Then, when we could talk about corporations, I think it is very important that we are able to produce post-trip reports, in particular, about the impact of the trips that have already taken place, so to help corporations to shape their own travel policy and set targets, specifically on what types of travels are allowed or what not, etc. And then, in the third category, I will say that are those actions that are referring to impacts that we were not able to avoid, and we can use tools to mitigate. In our case, we are working with a Norwegian company called Choose, looking into carbon offsetting options, and we have also invested in a producer of sustainable aviation fuel here in Germany. It's a company called Cafinia.
Right, okay.
That's the areas mostly where we are working.
Right, okay, very interesting. And Kirsty, from the Skyscanner perspective, can you share some tools that you feel are important to help exactly with that, increasing transparency, for example, for the consumer?
Yeah, I think that a lot of points have been made are really, really valid in terms of we need to be pushing the same information, and it's difficult being that first point of contact for the traveller, seeing information on our platform and then moving through to our partners. It's pushing for that standardization and consistency, as has already been said. And if the travellers are seeing different things at different points on their booking journey, it makes it very confusing, and it is a very complex space. So it's really kind of pushing for that standardized approach. We launched our emissions reporting back in 2019. We were one of the first to do that, and it showed our travellers, what flights are lower emissions on a particular route compared to average. And since then, 159 million travellers have chosen a lower emitting flight, and it's information like that shows that things are making a difference, and there is a demand there for sustainable travel, and it's pushing that through to the supply side and actually pushing for more sustainable supply to be available for the travellers. And since we launched that in 2019, it has evolved over a number of years, and we've got a more standardised approach that is used across the industry and in the travel impact model. And it's only a good thing, to be honest, to say that many other of our competitors as well are using that same approach, and we're no longer really using sustainability as a competitive advantage within industry. We know that what the overall goal is, and that we're all working as an industry to try and achieve that.
All right, so it's a great example of collaboration, as you can see here. And we've talked about a lot what needs to be done. What would you add to that? So I think it's a question to all of you, basically, because you're sitting here wanting to work together. What needs to be done for our industry to become holistically sustainable, right? Not only showing the options, but really becoming sustainable. Daniela, where would you start? What would you say what really needs to be done? A wish list for the industry.
Oh, big question. I think, from my perspective, if we can really embrace the role and what our strength in as Booking.com, that's something that we try and think about very often. We're an intermediary. We have a wonderful connection both with our travelers and with travel provider partners across all verticals. So we really need to leverage that strength. And what needs to happen is everyone is looking for clear, consistent, transparent, comparable information, whether it's the traveler, whether it's the travel provider partners. So we need to use the business that we've built over the last couple of decades, all of those capabilities, and then channel that into sustainability to actually make sure that we make that easier. Our mission is to make it easier for everyone to experience the world, but we can apply the exact same logic to sustainability and actually push the industry forward that way.
Right. Aditi, what would you say from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the travel impact model that Kirsty mentioned is a great example of how we've made progress, in particular on the aviation side, right? So there is consistency in the information that we're providing to travelers about flights and how carbon intensive those are. That's a huge achievement for the industry and really can help move the needle, right? So that's actually a place where we've been able to do that. I think on accommodations, there's still a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot that's out there in terms of each hotel taking on their own approach, having to then collate all that information and display that in ways that is consistent to travelers is actually very complex, and in the process also not upsetting any of your partners, right, with the standards that you end up choosing. So I think that onus is a big one in defining what sustainability looks like on that side of the booking experience, really in the accommodation space. But I think we do have models of how that can be successful. I think what we really need to be able to look at, though, is scale, and scale across geographies, scale across small businesses and large chains. There's a lot of diversity and complexity within the sector.
Fragmentation probably as well, right? We didn't even touch upon this, but this is a massive challenge, I imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I think really thinking about scale is, I think, our greatest challenge that we have. But again, we are travel tech providers, and those are the kinds of challenges that we're here to get after. So, I think that is where we need to be headed next.
Right. Lucas, from your perspective, would you agree? Would you add something to it?
Yes, I would like to add something. I would like to reflect on the fact that, all of us companies, we, in our case, probably a little bit more indirectly, but we are in touch with millions of travelers on a daily basis. That is an immense opportunity, and I would say even a responsibility for us to be able to share information that is relevant regarding sustainability and encourage travelers to make more sustainable choices. And that is what can help the industry to accelerate the path towards sustainability. That can encourage also travel providers to factor in sustainability as one of their differentiating factors and competitiveness. And in our particular case, we also develop IT solutions to help travel providers to become also more efficient. And in fact, we are only successful to the extent to which we help our customers to become more efficient operationally, but also environmentally and from the sustainable point of view.
Right. And would you say there's maybe some learnings you can take from the fragmentation and standardization, harmonization problems you had in technology in general? We had that in the sessions before. A massive problem in innovation is the lack of standardization. And there's probably some learnings, right? As a technology company, you can transfer to...
Yeah, I would say that, in my opinion, we have spent a long time discussing about what is the best methodology about calculating sustainability, where can I get the best and most accurate data. And I think, in my opinion, that we have already overcome the situation. We have reasonably accurate information about what can we deliver. So we have reached the moment in which consensus is more important than precision. And I think we need to work on that.
Wow, okay, yeah, that's a good point. Kirsty, would you add something to that? Would you say something you want to share from Skyscanner's perspective?
Yeah, I think that all those points are great, and I would echo everything that everyone has said today, to be honest. I think we need to keep chipping away at the education side from the travellers as well, and really try and connect them to that bigger picture. For example, if a traveller is, say, choosing a low-emitting flight or purchasing a carbon offset or sustainable aviation fuel, it doesn't mean a lot to them, and they don't really see the impact it's having with these individual choices. So it's how do we use our platform to connect the traveller to that bigger picture and actually showcase that the actions from both the partner side in terms of the technological innovations that they're doing, and also the actions from the demand side are having a difference when we move forward. And I think that'll help drive the sustainable solutions.
Right, okay, I see. Well, and then to close the circle again, global travel tech, right, that's quite of the purpose of why you decided to build an association like that. What would you say, Emmanuel? How can a representative body like Global Travel Tech actually usefully contribute to this mission? What's your role in that as an entity?
So to echo what has been said, well, you have a lot of effort on sustainability, some effort on standardization, a lot of work which has been achieved, notably through Travelist, to mention one of them. We believe we have a stake in those discussions because we have to honor the trust of our customers in providing reliable data, and because also we know what are their expectations, their needs, what is the kind of information they will take into account, and what the kind of information they don't necessarily need. So now it's time to build consensus, as Lucas was saying, and this discussion has to take place at global level. We know that because we are global players. All those players have a global footprint, are present across multiple continents. That's the case also of Travelport, of Ijum Sodijo, our other members. And we need global solutions. We need global consensus on how to convey the right information. It's a global discussion which has started to take place, which will carry on in the coming years. We have to get there. We have to get there because sustainability is not an objective. It's an imperative. We have to get there. We have to go through this transition. It's a must-have. So we want to be part of this discussion. We want to help to build consensus, speaking with one voice for the whole industry. And that's what Global Travel Tech will stand for in the coming years. We are happy to engage with all stakeholders, with industry players, with associations, organizations, international organizations, with authorities, whoever believes that it's worth engaging with us, and will come speaking with one voice. So I hope that we'll be able to speak with many of you in the future. I also take the opportunity to invite all of you to our launch event, which takes place right after this one, in CityCube Berlin M6. So that we can engage this conversation.
No, it's a leading theme right throughout the convention for many years now. I'd say collaboration, communication, defining one voice for a certain sector, fighting against the silos, and like unified approach for your own company objectives. I mean, you have your objectives. That's correct, right? We are business, all of us, but then we are in one industry. We have to work together. So I think this is a wonderful takeaway, right? Collaboration, looking for transparency, and you can start right away, right? I mean, that's maybe a good takeaway also for SMEs, like small, mid-sized enterprises, like a small operator. It's not that only the big ones can do it. It's not only about the funds. It's also just starting in small steps. I think that's very motivating as well, if you know that. And I mean, for the larger pictures, like really moving the big representations and other associations, it's great to have one voice. And I just repeat what Emmanuel said, so you all feel invited. There's a Global Tech launch event. It's here on the fairgrounds, right? It's in CityCube M6. So please join them and celebrate with them these new association. Learn more about. You have great speakers joining. Is that correct?
Actually, Global Travel Tech is also a network of associations with Travel Tech in the US, with ATIA, so Asian Travel Technology Internet Association, Industry Association in Asia, and EU Travel Tech in Europe, and we'll have representatives from all the associations speaking on behalf of the association and trying to present how Travel Tech can help contribute to the travel industry.
Wow, so you see, we're putting competitiveness aside. I'm here for attention as well of you guys, but it seems like a place to be for the next half an hour and to network and meet great minds. So thank you so much for being here with me, Danielle da Silva from Booking.com, Aditi Moapatra from Expedia Group, and Lucas Bobis from Amadeus, and Kirsty Webster from Skyscanner, Emmanuel from Global Travel Tech. Make sure to visit their booths. They're beautiful. You can't miss them. I won't tell you where they are because you for sure will find them. You just go direction Hall 9-8 and you will also see them, and they have great teams. They're always fun to discuss with, so you make use of the time. Thank you again so much for your time joining me. It was an honor, and I wish you a wonderful remainder of this ITB Berlin. And
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.